This video is going to be about height and how it relates to goaltending, and this is a very common topic that comes up. It's something that every goalie thinks about, and pretty much everybody in hockey talks about it. How big do goalies need to be? Does height matter? How much does it matter? And I have a few thoughts on that I wanted to share in this video. First of all, I want to say that yes, height does matter. It would be a lie to say that it doesn't. Obviously, coaches are looking for height. Most goalies at a high level are pretty tall. The trend is towards taller goalies. We see that in the NHL now. Majority of goalies are around 6'3", sometimes even taller. And there are a few goalies that are smaller, around 6 foot or under, but it's rare. It's more and more rare as the years go by. And I think there's a reason for that. And I want to go into detail on that in this video. And there are two things that I think matter here. There is the concept of what coaches look for and getting scouted for a team and being able to move up to the next level. And then there's a concept of actually who is the better goalie and who plays better. So you have UC Saros, who's known to be a smaller goalie who's really good in the NHL. He's around 5'10", 5'11". And then you have a goalie who's, say, 18 years old, playing junior hockey, and he's 6'3". Who would you rather have as your goalie? Well, you would rather have UC Saros, I'm willing to bet. 99% of people, probably more, maybe 100% would say they'd rather have UC Saros in net because they know that he's a really good goalie. He's in the NHL, he's elite. And the other goalie is probably still good, and he's a lot bigger, but he's not going to be as good as UC Saros. UC Saros will stop more pucks. Now, this is a simple concept. Obviously, you want the better goalie. It doesn't matter who's bigger the majority of the time. The reality is that if you were playing hockey, you're playing minor hockey, you're trying to work your way up, most coaches will be looking for the bigger goalie. That's because a lot of coaches, especially head coaches, they don't really know what to look for in a goalie. They don't know how to analyze skating and positioning and rebound control and all the other attributes that make a good goalie. So they're going to look at that goalie for maybe a few skates, a couple tryouts, maybe even less, and they're going to form an opinion based on very little information, and they have very little understanding of what makes a really good goalie. And when you understand that, when you know what they're looking for, you can see why they're going to choose the bigger goalie. It's the safer option. It's easy to say, we got a bigger goalie, they look bigger in net, that gives us more comfort, and we're not at fault if they end up not being good. If you take the smaller goalie, there's a bit more of a risk because it's easy to say, oh, that goalie got beat because they're small. If they were bigger, they would have made that save. So if you're a coach, you have limited time to choose a player. Say you're coaching AA, you have 5 goalies coming out. The smaller goalie is going to be at a disadvantage based on how they're picking that goalie. That doesn't mean that the smaller goalie is not going to be as good as the bigger goalie. And that's something that's important to discuss. That's the other main concept here. Goaltending is about stopping the puck, and that's it. And it doesn't matter how you do it. Some goalies are not very good with rebound control. Some goalies don't have a good glove hand. Some goalies are bad at reading the play compared to other goalies. So there are a variety of things that make up a good goalie. And really, it comes down to having enough tools and being good enough at those tools to be a good goalie. Even in the NHL, some goalies are better than others at certain aspects. Some are better skaters, some are better at catching pucks. There are all these different things that go into making a good goalie, and you just need to have enough of the good stuff that you have to be able to play at that level. So the reality is a bigger goalie takes up more net, and they therefore technically don't need to be as skilled as a smaller goalie because they don't need to cover as much space, meaning they don't need to skate as well to get into position. Their positioning can be a little bit off. They can be a little bit slower at reacting because they just take up more of the net standing there and just standing in one position. So smaller goalies, they're forced to be better at their game. They have to be a little bit more precise. They have to be faster, stronger. They have to have their positioning dialed in. And you see this, right? Like you see a lot of top goalies in the NHL that are smaller. Goalies like UC Saros, Devin Levi, Dustin Wolf. These guys are around 6 foot, maybe under, and they're very good. They're very good goalies. They're really good skaters, very positionally sound. They have all those attributes, and they have to have that because as a smaller goalie, if you don't have that, you're going to be at a major disadvantage. And the reality is some bigger goalies don't need to be as good at other things because their size helps them out. So with all that being said, it doesn't really matter how big you are if you can stop the puck, right? Like you look at save percentage, look at goals against average, you look at even more advanced analytics, and the better goalie is the one who's able to stop more pucks at the end of the day. So basically, to sum up what I've said, the goaltending is only about stopping the puck, and there are different things that go into that. Size is an asset. It's better to be bigger because if a bigger goalie can skate and if a bigger goalie can skate as well as a smaller goalie, they're just as technical. Their positioning is just as good. then they have the advantage. The smaller goalie has to be better at those things to stand out above the bigger goalie, not only to cover more net and increase their chances of making a save, but to stand out for the scouts and the coaches that are looking at them. Because as we said earlier, if you're a scout, you're a coach, you don't have a lot of information to go on, you're going to pick the bigger goalie because it just makes sense. It's logical that a bigger goalie will cover more net and therefore make more saves. Doesn't always work that way, but that is the mindset of a coach who doesn't really understand goaltending. That being said, there is also a lot of frustration. I see it with comments I get on the Instagram page from other goalies, from parents of goalies that are upset because of the discrimination that their goalie or themselves that they're facing when it comes to height and when coaches are picking them for the team. And I get it. It's a reality of hockey. It's unfair. There are a variety of things that are unfair about hockey. When coaches are picking teams, there's politics, there's height, there are a variety of obstacles that are going to get in your way when it comes to making a team. And that's the reality. And it's unfair. I get it. Like, you might be a better goalie than a bigger goalie, but that goalie made the team and doesn't make sense. It's not fair. But that's just the reality. And I think you need to accept that. You need to understand how the world works, how coaches are looking to pick their players. It works for players and like forwards and defensemen as well. Coaches, scouts are going to look for a bigger player the majority of the time. It doesn't mean that smaller players can't succeed. They definitely can, but you need to be aware of the realities so that you understand your expectations. And when it comes to expectations, I think you need to lower them when you're playing hockey. You can't look at hockey as a means to an end. And when it comes to expectations, you need to lower them generally because even a player in the OHL probably won't have a long NHL career. And when you realize that, like, that is a pretty crazy thing to think about because OHL players, WHL players, where we're talking about major junior, they're the top players in their age group. And even they are probably not going to have an NHL career at all, and probably not a long one, even if they make it there. And when you understand that reality, you realize that hockey shouldn't be played just to try to make it to the NHL. And I understand that mentality. I had the same mentality as well. But you really need to think about why you're playing hockey. And it sounds cliche, but the important thing is to have fun and to enjoy the process of getting better. Because no matter how good you are, even if you make it to the NHL, even the best players in the world, Sidney Crosby, he will be done playing hockey before the age of 40. And you have a lot of life after that you need to prepare for. And if you are looking at your hockey career and what you're doing right now, playing minor hockey, as a way just to get to the NHL, that I think is short-sighted. And you realize that as you get older because everything you learn playing hockey is going to have an impact on your life outside of hockey. So whether that's getting into another school, getting a job, succeeding in anything in your life, there are going to be obstacles and there are things that you learn playing hockey, the good side and the bad side, that are going to help you prepare for that life outside of hockey. So if you're a parent and your kid doesn't make a team because of height, because of politics, you need to understand that. You need to, like, I understand if you're mad, you should be upset, but you need to accept that. You need to accept that there are obstacles and you need to try to find a way around them and use them as tools to learn, as ways to develop beyond that, and use that as an example, as experience, as motivation for other things. Because if you just look at the world and hockey as this was unfair, if I had gotten this chance, I would have been here at this point. That's no way to live. You become like the uncle in Napoleon Dynamite, and you don't want to live that kind of life. You want to accept the obstacles, find a way around them, work to find a way around them, and be happy with how that helped you learn and develop in other ways. So this video got a little bit philosophical there, and I want to summarize the main points of what I'm talking about. Basically, height matters for goalies, both because height and bigger goalies, it allows you to cover more net, and because coaches are going to be more likely to pick you for the team, and a smaller goalie will not be as likely to get the chance to make a team or move up into other levels. It's not everything. Smaller goalies can succeed and will continue to succeed. So don't obsess about your height if you can't. If you feel like you can't control things, you obviously can't control your height, but you need to focus on controlling what you can control and being as good as possible at everything else that you do. And finally, don't look at setbacks, at politics, at obstacles as really negative things. Use them to learn, use them to develop yourself, because in the end, in the long run, they will help you. I hope this video made sense. I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about, and I would love for you to leave any comments or questions below. Thank you.